Welcome everyone to the Best of Markham Podcast, brought to you by me, Igor Klibanov from FitnessSolutionsPlus.ca. Here with me today is Peter McCarroll from Fuel Accountants. Peter, thank you so much for being here. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a very interesting person. I'm originally from New Zealand, actually. So I've been living in Canada this time for 12 years. I married a Canadian back in 96. And my standing joke is that I dragged her around the world with me, and it took them 11 years to find me and make me bring her home. So have been making our home here in Markham for the last 12 years. We've got four kids, one born in the States, one born in BC, and two born in New Zealand.
Wow, it's like you have the entire UN under one roof.
Well, we always joked that for kid number four, if we ever had kid number four, we'd have to move to Africa, and we didn't have the guts to do that.
Ah, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Um, and how did you get into accounting?
Well, my dad was an accountant and his dad was an accountant, so we always joked that it was in the blood. I didn't know, when I was 15 at high school, I did my first accounting class. Actually, the funniest story is that my dad wanted me to try accounting, and when I was 14, he got me a textbook from the accountant's library. And it was so boring, I gave it back to him after chapter one and said, Dad, this doesn't make any sense to me. And I think he was very disappointed. And then I got to what we would call fifth form, and did an accounting class and was top of the class. So from then on, it was just a foregone conclusion. So I followed my dad's footsteps for many years and ended up working for one of the major accounting firms, Deloitte's. And that's what eventually brought me to Canada back in 94 on what was supposed to be an 18-month assignment. And so, yeah, I've worked for them in New Zealand, Canada, and the States. And I was with them all together for about 11 years.
Wow, wow, quite the journey from I don't want to do this to I'm the best at this.
Yeah.
So your grandpa, your dad, and you are an accountant. Do any of your kids want to be accountants?
Unfortunately, no. There doesn't. It seems to have. I'm hoping it skipped a generation. We'll find out. The funniest thing is my daughter decided to move back to New Zealand, and she married a guy in New Zealand, and he's an accountant, and his dad's an accountant. So we at least still have it in the family.
Yeah, a big accounting family.
That's right. Yeah.
And what do you like most about being an accountant and an entrepreneur?
It's one and the same, really. I mean, I'm good with numbers. I'm analytical. I like the numbers, but what I really like actually is helping people. And helping business owners see that their numbers aren't just about taxes. Their numbers are really they tell a story about their business. And we don't do accounting for the tax man. We do accounting for the business owner
Mhm.
because that's how they know how their business is doing. They know if they're healthy. They know if they're making enough money to look after their family. And so, that's the part I really like. I always say that I don't get out of bed to do a tax return.
Right.
I get out of bed so that I can talk to my clients and help them run a more profitable business.
So you specifically target small business owners.
Yeah. Yeah. We work primarily, almost exclusively with owner managed businesses. Yeah.
Gotcha. That makes sense for you on an entrepreneurship podcast.
Yeah.
Um, now, of course, you're not just an accountant, you have your own accounting firm, which means that you are an entrepreneur. So
Absolutely.
what made you decide to make the jump from working for a big company like Deloitte to running your own business?
Well, I actually left the industry for a few years
Mhm.
and pursued a different path and then decided to that route ended, and then I was thinking, okay, what do I do with myself now? And I actually ended up buying back in New Zealand another small business,
Mhm.
and part of that was, well, maybe that would lead me to maybe starting up my own practice at some point, and that's eventually what happened. And so I started up my own accounting practice, having passed up the opportunity to take over my dad's practice. And then, a year or two later, going, maybe I should have accepted that offer. And so then I sort of started my own practice up, and then when we made the decision to move to Canada, I could have moved in, worked back for Deloitte or for another firm, but we decided that having a little bit more flexibility in what we did
Yeah,
uh, made sense to just continue that journey of entrepreneurship.
got it. And what do you like most about not necessarily accounting, but the entrepreneurship side of things? So one of the things you mentioned is flexibility.
Yep.
Sure.
Look, to be honest, as an entrepreneur, we all know it's really hard. You have a lot more time freedom, but you also have a lot more time pressure.
Yeah.
And you don't switch it off when you leave work, and
No.
I work at home. So I I never switch it off. I enjoy the fact that I'm charting my own course. I enjoy the fact that I'm providing employment for other people. I don't enjoy the fact that at the end of the day, the person who doesn't get paid is me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're the last one.
I'm the last one when things are like now we try and work against that, as much as possible. You'll see on the wall where behind my head there, we're profit first professionals.
Yeah.
We try and help make sure that business owners actually get paid first. But the reality is, as we all know, when things are tough, you sacrifice for your business because it's part of the family. It's like a child, you're the last one to get paid.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you have a responsibility to other people. You want
Yep.
them to do well, to they're your responsibility, but you are all your own responsibility. So I totally get it.
Yep.
And what do you do for marketing? How do you get new clients?
Right now, most of our clients either come through referrals or, as I said, we're part of Profit First Professionals. So we get a lot of referrals that come through the head office. People buy the book by Mike McCallow. It's called Profit First. They read it. They go, wow, this sounds really good. My accountant thinks this is garbage or has never heard of it. I want someone that knows how it works. So we get a lot of referrals coming through the Profit First network.
Yeah,
That's probably our single largest lead source right now. And then the rest of it would be through referrals or through the website. I do quite a bit of cross-border tax work between New Zealand and Canada, obviously
yeah,
being someone that's lived in both countries, and I'm a CPA in both countries. So we get quite a lot of referrals for that part of the business coming through Facebook groups of all
yeah.
places.
Okay, so you got
Yeah.
so it seems like you have four sources. You have Facebook groups, you have the Profit First Network, you have word of mouth, and you have your website. Now you said
Yes.
the Profit First Network is by far the biggest. What about the other three? Is it split equally between all three, or is there one that predominates?
No, it would probably be the Facebook groups for the cross-border tax work would be the next by volume for sure.
Yeah.
And then probably referrals and website would be equal.
Got it. Now with the Facebook group, is it do you or one of your staff members go in there and post? Like what's the strategy there?
Actually, funnily enough, we don't. I think I'm a member of one of the groups, but yeah, there's several groups around the country. There's one in Vancouver. There's one for Toronto, and it's actually the customers that we have served,
Oh,
are on those sites. And someone comes and says, "Oh, I've just moved from New Zealand to Canada. I've got a tax question," and they all go, "You need to speak to Peter."
well, it's so good being probably only one guy who can do that.
I think there's two of us in the country that sort of specialize in this, but yeah, it's a hard combination to find.
Yeah, yeah, you have almost no competition whatsoever,
That's
and
right.
there's
Yep.
demand for it, so that's a great place to be in.
Yep. Yep.
And what obstacles have you encountered in your time, both as an accountant as as an entrepreneur?
Oh, obstacles. Every industry, every economy has cycles. And when things are going really well, it's great. And when things start to contract, it gets really tough.
Hmm.
And, especially when you've got staff, the Canadian economy is going through a contraction right now.
Hmm.
And that's really hard. It's hard to tell my clients that your business might not survive.
Right,
It's hard to see clients shut down, and we've had a few clients that have, shut down.
right,
And of course, that means for me, it means reduced revenue.
of course.
And then I've got to decide, well, what am I doing with my staff? My staff will want pay raises, but sometimes there's no money for that.
Yeah,
Or we've had, when clients leave, it's like, well, we don't have as much revenue as we did before. Now we're always growing, we're always bringing on new clients, but there is that overall ebb and flow of what's happening in the economy, and especially the unpredictability of that
right.
is one of my biggest challenges. And as I work with my clients, this is why I love Profit First, because part of the methodology of Profit First is helping you put aside money so that when things like this happen, it's never if they happen,
Yeah,
it's always when they happen, you've got time. Money equals time. You've got time up your sleeve
yeah,
to react. You're never, okay, you may be surprised, but you're never like desperate
yeah,
because you've
exactly.
always got some money to say, right, okay, I've got 2 months
Yeah,
before I have to make a drastic decision.
yeah.
Let's see what happens.
That
So that's one of the things I'm always coaching my clients about, is cash management. How do we build up a profit vault? How do we make sure that should something happen, I used to call it my COVID 26 fund. Now I've got to call it my COVID 29 fund. But how do you don't know what's going to come around the corner. So you've got to be ready for whatever could come around the corner.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good distinction. It's not good to be desperate, but surprises happen. But if you're surprised, you don't want to be surprised and desperate. If you're
That's right.
surprised,
Yeah.
but
You
not desperate.
can't you can't avoid one of them, but you can avoid the other.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. No, sounds like you're very passionate about what you're doing, but what are you working on right now that's exciting to you?
Well, the thing that it's busy season for us right now. We're in the thick of tax prep and year-end accounts and things like that. Actually, what's most interesting for me is AI.
Mm,
I'm spending a lot of time. I started working on AI stuff almost 2 years ago, and trying to help other accountants understand the impact of AI on their business, as well as for my own clients. But right now, my focus is on helping other accountants understand AI and being able to be a resource for them to transform their firm. As I continue to transform mine, I wouldn't say we've got it mastered yet,
yeah.
but really grappling with, understanding, and embracing this change that's affecting almost every business on the planet right now.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Even my business, which is personal training, a very, very face-to-face business.
Yeah.
Uh, on the one hand, I feel very, very fortunate that I don't think I will ever take my job because people want people.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it has helped make my business a little bit easier in the sense that one of my core marketing strategies is writing and publishing books. Um, Now, I never use AI for writing, but I use it extensively for clinical research,
Yes.
which used to take me literally 3 to 4 months. Now the amount of research that I do, it takes me about 3 to 7 days. So
Yes.
that for me, it's really helped. Um,
Yeah, and I've actually also started a similar journey in terms of writing and publishing.
mhm.
And so using AI, it's my ideas, it's my thoughts. I'll do the final edit, but being able to get over that hump of
Yeah,
writing. For most people, it's the first three paragraphs that are the hardest.
yeah,
And
yeah,
once
exactly.
you've got that, it starts to come easy. And so I have to say, I'm actually enjoying the work. I'm using Claude right now,
Yeah,
and I've sort of trained it and instructed it to be very dialogical with me.
yeah,
So it's asking me questions. I'm asking it questions. It's giving me ideas. I'm challenging, and so going backwards and forwards, and the piece that comes out at the end of that is such good quality.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
It's very, very exciting.
Yeah.
Now you're a very busy guy, 4 kids, a business, wife, etc. So in the very little free time you have, what do you do?
Well, we're members at Cornerstone Christian Community Church up on Ninth Line. So a lot of my spare time is involved there. I do a little bit of Bible teaching and other support there, so it takes up a fair bit of time. And that's pretty much it. I travel quite a bit for conferences, for work, or going back to New Zealand to visit my family. Because all my family is in New Zealand and all my wife's family is here. So, I do like to try and go back and visit my mum and my siblings and nieces, as often as I can. I try
Yeah,
and go back once or twice a year,
yeah.
which is a huge investment of time.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
it's a long way. So,
How long's the flight?
yeah. It's a 12-hour flight from or 14-hour flight from Vancouver to Auckland.
Okay,
So
okay, I guess here
you
too.
add the flight from here to Vancouver, you add the flight from Vancouver to Wellington, which is where I'm from.
Yeah.
Sometimes a year, I've got to fly via Sydney, so that's even longer.
Jeez.
So yeah, it's a long day. It's a
Yeah,
very
I
long day.
understand. So besides New Zealand, besides family, where have been your favorite places to travel, either for conferences or for personal, just vacations?
Well, I went to Japan last year. Took my brother to Japan for his 50th birthday
Yeah,
and really enjoyed it. I'd love to be able to go back, maybe get out of the touristy areas and into some of the smaller villages.
yeah,
Would be wonderful. I've got a bit of a kick lately going to India. I've got an IT project and I've got a team in India that I work with. And so if I go to visit with them, I always take a few days and do something in India that I haven't seen before. So sort of every time I go, which is about once every 18 months to 2 years,
yeah.
I will pick another destination in India and spend a day or two there. So late last year I was in Chennai. Year before that I was in Jaipur. So yeah, really, really fascinating. Just
Very nice. I've heard
yeah.
great things about Japan. That's my wife and I have like a 3 year plan for travel. Next one is Greece, but the one after that is what we call a Pan Asia tour.
Mhm.
Japan, Taiwan, and Seoul.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And since this is, after all, a Best of Markham podcast, what's your favorite business in Markham besides your own?
Well, I'm going to have to say something that no one's going to expect.
Go for it.
The KFC at Cooper Creek,
Okay,
because
okay.
my daughter works there.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
KFC is
I go there many times a week, and I don't often spend money there, but I still go there many times a week because I'm taking her to work or picking her up.
yeah, yeah, it makes sense. What's your favorite business?
Yeah, absolutely.
And lastly, how can our viewers and listeners get in touch with you?
Well, you can go and visit our website, fuelaccountants.com. You can email me, Peter at fuelaccountants.com. And if you've got a business and you would like some support with that business, particularly if you're looking to grow and get better cash management, I'm your guy.
Fantastic. And all those contact details will be in the show notes as well. Peter, thank you so much for doing this. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
my pleasure. Nice to meet you.
You too.
Okay.